Hi there, happy alive, happy Wednesday. I hope you guys all had a super family day long weekend and got spoiled on Valentine's Day, whether by yourself or spoiled by somebody else. Hope you had a great one. I am going to do my normal today, which is do real estate updates for you, answer some of your guys' questions that have come in throughout the week, or you're welcome to write them in the chat over here and I will answer them, as well as happy news, okay? So I'm going to jump into the first question, and again, feel free to ask them if you have any more. So the first question comes from Grace, and Grace is in Stainer. So Grace said, I only have one bathroom in my home, and I think it's better for resale if I have two. I had someone over, sorry, I couldn't read that. I had someone over, and they said I could have one, but it would be an ejector pump. Is this looked down on by buyers? Thank you, Grace, for asking. So to be honest, not ideal, but you're right. Buyers would rather two bathrooms over one. So if I would just ask them, maybe have somebody else come out and say, hey, you know, like I know I can do ejector pump, but possibly could I have it, you know, tied into the main system? Because that definitely would be more optimal for people. It just looks better, as well as, you know, people like it better. It's not as weird. It's not obviously a composting toilet, but they just don't really like the idea of it. So maybe have some other plumbers over that could check it out for you. So we'll do a little bit of happy news before we do the real estate. So one thing is it's never too late. And the reason I say that is because there was a fellow that just got his PhD and his finished his doctorate or whatever you want to call that. And why it's different is because he's 76 years old. So it took him over 50 years, not necessarily to do it. He didn't stay in school for 50 years. He dropped out after 5 years, went and got married, had 2 kids. Life happened, etc. And then 7 years ago, he decided he wanted to go and finish it. And he just graduated, and his 11-year-old granddaughter was in the audience cheering him on, which I thought was super cute. And the average age of people in his class was like 23 or something like that. So it's never too late to do whatever you dream of. And so that's why I like that story. Next question comes from Mark, and Mark is in Barrie. Mark said, I heard bidding wars are back. Is this true? Do you think we'll be in a similar situation as last year? Thank you, Mark, for asking. I don't think we're going to be in a similar situation. I did show 2 homes today, for example, and both of them are holding offers, but it's not as common. I showed one in Wabashine, for example, and it was holding offers a week prior and never got any. So it's not, you know, like it was. And even the ones that have sold in bidding wars, they've seen, for example, they were $699, they sold $730 or $750. They're not doing like $699 getting, you know, $900, etc., $950 like it would have last year. So we'll see, obviously, as time goes on, because it's literally just started the last few days. So one is holding offers tonight and one's holding offers tomorrow. So we'll see if they get any, if they get any. We did have one up in Owen Sound, and it had 5 offers, but all of them were under asking and conditional. So anyways, that's that. So what else do we have for happy news? We have, guess who's 60 is Michael Jordan, and what he did for his birthday, which is, you know, amazing, is he gave $10 million to the, what's it called? The Make-A-Wish. I want to use the exact wording, but the Kids Make-A-Wish Foundation. You probably heard of it a bunch of times. And so basically he's been supporting them for 34 years and helping give money and making kids' wishes come true if they want to meet him, etc. So I thought that was neat. And the person that but the president of the company says that he's a legend, not because of what he did on the basketball court, but what he does off the basketball court. So I love that. He also gave $10 million to North Carolina, basically where he's from, and they opened 2 children's hospitals there. And he also gave them another $7 million prior to that $10 million. So super cool. And I love when people do that and giving back. So that's amazing. Next question comes from, let's see, Josh. And Josh is in Aurora. So Josh said, I currently live with my parents, but want to buy a house since I'm expecting a child with my girlfriend. Assuming his girlfriend's expecting, not him. I would prefer to stay as close to Aurora as possible, but our budget is only $800,000. How far north will we have to go? Josh, it depends if you're okay in a condo. Obviously, if you're okay in a condo, then you could be closer. But usually your banking institution, your mortgage broker, etc., they'll take all that to an account. So if, for example, there's $500 condo fees, that's all going to go in your debt to service ratio. So you might think like, oh, I can buy more because it's a condo or what have you, but then you still have those fees. So, yeah, and condos don't go up as much, even though I just had a condo. they don't go up as much on average than a freehold. So I would suggest getting into a freehold if you can. For example, we have one in Innisfil. It's $750. So you're $800. You might squeak into Bradford a little bit. Also, it's a detached, so you could probably squeak in there with a townhouse or something. Myself, or if you have a realtor, would be happy to send you any listings under 800,000, I'm sure. But thank you for asking. One more thing before I do real estate is there was a lady, I don't know how honest you guys would be, but there was a lady and she was walking to work every single day, 4.5 kilometers basically, to a deli that she worked at. She had a Jeep, but she couldn't afford to fix it. Hello, Justin. How are you? Hi, Jesse. Hi, Mark. Hi, Craig. So this lady, this is my last thing, Justin, before I do real estate, okay? She was walking to work every single day because she couldn't afford to fix her Jeep, and she went to a gas station. She wanted to get some snacks, and she saw a plastic bag, and it wasn't empty, and she went over to pick it up to put in the garbage. Turns out there was something in it. She looked in it. There was a whole bunch of money and some wedding cards. So some people just put it in their pocket and drive away or walk away in her instance, whereas she called the police, and they went through all the wedding cards, basically tracked down who the bride and groom was, and gave them the money back. And the police, one of the police officers that was on that day, I guess his wife said, like, this is so rare that this lady turned in this 15,000 US when she could have just kept it, especially when she wasn't in the greatest financial position herself. So they started a GoFundMe for her. Anyways, within a week, there was over 86,000 US dollars. So her good deed turned into way more money in the end. She obviously could fix her Jeep, even bought a whole new Jeep and fixed a bunch of things around where she was living. So I like that. So we're going to get into real estate now. All right, if I can get to the right page. So a lot of people are asking what to expect for spring. So one economist, for example, is saying that it's going to jump 20%. And what he means by that, he doesn't mean that the average sales price is going to go up 20%. He thinks 20% more homes are going to sell. So if they're comparing that to last year, so obviously we're coming up to March. So if he says 20% more homes are going to sell in March than March of 2022, then that's great. But if he's saying 20% more of homes are going to sell in March than February, that's just what happens every year, because the closer we get to June and July, etc., obviously lots of closing dates at that time, the more people are selling, right? So that is really a no-brainer, like, ooh, big whoop-de-doo, more houses sold in March than February. So he didn't say which it was, but he said 20% higher. But again, it just depends which it's in relation to see if it actually is a good thing or not. So there was just a recent survey done of 5,000 Canadians, and 59% of them said they were concerned about the market. And of those 59%, 34% of them said they were worried about the cost of inflation and the cost of living. And 25% said they were afraid that just they couldn't afford prices. 25% said they were afraid their rent was going to go up. And the remainder of them said they were concerned of not influx, but you could say influx of interest rates, okay? Of those people, 32% of them were optimistic, not obviously of the 59%, but 32% of the people said they were optimistic about the market, and the rest just said nil. So some economists have said that businesses might close because they're saying, hey, they have to pay higher rent, the cost of everything's higher, blah, blah, so I think a lot of businesses will close. Also, they think because rent is higher and mortgages are higher, etc. So let's just say a unit is downtown Toronto. People don't want to drive to downtown Toronto, say from 3 hours away, etc. So they think it's going to be harder because people can't afford to live around them. So they do think that a fair amount of businesses will close. 66% of people that were surveyed in that same survey said that housing affordability should be at the top of the government's basically priority list. So obviously a lot of people are thinking along the same track there. And 22% of people in the same survey said that they think money should go towards the middle people. And I'll talk a little bit about that later, the housing gap and the middle, missing the middle. 41% of people said that they should remove the red tape and so forth in zoning and development and helping it get faster to getting new, subdivisions built, etc. And what else? So January was not off to a great start. We don't obviously have February stats yet, but we do have January. So not off to the greatest start. It's actually been the worst start since 2019, which is not that long of a time, but it's been the worst start since then. But what I mean by that is the number of homes sold. So not the average price. The average price is not the same as 2019, but I mean the number of homes sold, okay, is the same, or not the worst, is not the same, obviously identical, but it's similar to 2019. So the number of homes sold was 37.1% less than it was in 2022. Okay, not again the average sales price, just the number of homes sold. And that being said, though, in Ontario, there were over 20,000 homes sold, 20,931 people, to be exact, moved in January. That's still a lot of people, if you ask me. So there was a fellow, he's an economist for BMO, and his name's Doug Porter, and he said the market is still digesting last year's aggressive interest hikes, which is true, because not everybody's obviously mortgages have renewed yet and so forth, so they might still be locked in at a really low rate or something like that. So he thinks that we're not at the bottom yet. He said the last 7 housing corrections took at least 3 years to come to the full bottom, and we're only a year past the max. So he does not think we're at the bottom yet, and he thinks 2 more years. The average price across Canada in January is just over $612,000, $612,204 to be exact, which was 18.3% less than last January's, which was $749,437 to be exact. So Bank of Canada has obviously raised its rates the last 8 times. So 7 of them were in 2022. 1 of them was in 2023. And the next possible one is in March, which is the 8th. So March 8th is the next possible interest hike. And a lot of people basically, they're saying, hey, I don't want to list when my garbage neighbor, not to be rude, but my garbage neighbor got more money than I did last year and my house is better and blah, blah. So they're like, well, I don't want to list. And then a lot of buyers that do want to buy, they can't afford with the interest rate. So that is a bit of the problem why we're seeing, 37%, et cetera, less homes sold and so forth. So a lot of people are saying like, hey, the Bank of Canada is done. I heard them say they're at the peak and they may not do it anymore. The key word to that was may. They may not do it anymore. Most economists think they are going to do it one more time. Okay, again, that's March 8th. One economist said it's not all about the interest rates. He said it's also about immigration and about basically flipping homes and adding a tax to that. And another good thing is that the country, 3.3% more homes were listed in January of 2023. And that is obviously good because obviously we need more inventory. And when I was saying earlier about missing the middle, so what that means basically is, so the middle is not the people that are on OW, which used to be called welfare, depending how you know it. It's Ontario Works. They're not on ODSP. They don't live in a shelter. They don't live in subsidized housing, etc. So the middle is, they have jobs, etc., but they just can't afford to get in the market. Their rent's high. They can't afford to buy with the stress test and everything. So that's the middle. So they're trying to pump some money into those people, basically so they can not leave the province, because a lot of them unfortunately are leaving the province. One thing they're worried about though is immigration, that we already don't have a lot of homes, etc. So with all the immigration, they're worried, well, where are they going as well, right? So another study, this was a different one than the last one, it said that basically places that don't have a diversity and livability are not going to be as popular. So they want them, the diversity and livability means they want them to be close to restaurants, they want them walkable, they want restaurants, they want shops, etc. And if they don't have those things, they're not going to be as popular for people, because maybe they can't afford 2 cars anymore, they only have 1 car, maybe they can't afford a car at all and they want public transit, etc. So those are going to be the more popular areas, they think, in 2023. So going back to immigration, for the next 3 years, they're expecting anywhere from 465,000 immigrants a year to 500,000 immigrants a year. And the reason they're saying they want to do that is because they're saying with the aging population as well as low fertility, or maybe people just don't want to have kids that live here, I don't know. So they're saying that they need those amount of people for the labor force. So that is what they're saying. But with all of these immigrants and so forth, again, people are just worried, where is everybody going to live, etc. There was, you probably heard about, there was a lady named Aziza, and she stabbed herself in front of some immigration officers or something like that. And she had been living in a hostel, a refugee hostel, for 7 months, I forget, west of Toronto. And she's like, why did you bring me to this country if you don't have anywhere for me to live? So after that aired and got a whole bunch of publicity, some family in Ottawa had her move in with them. So anyways, that's what they're worried. We're going to bring all these hundreds of thousands of people and not have anywhere for them to live. Okay, so in Ontario, 3.5 million was put into the federal government, and that's for the housing strategy, to whether they're giving grants to people or whether they're promoting them to tear down things and do multiplexes. I don't know exactly their housing strategy, but they did give 3.5 million, which was the highest of any province. And also 3.7 million was given to this thing called Merit. And Merit is an organization. It helps people get jobs and trades. So they're expecting that 3.7 million will help get to 2,500 jobs. And then those jobs are hoping to help build 1.5 million homes by 2031. So that is their plan. Okay. Just as a side note, re the foreign buyers, there are some exemptions to the foreign buyers. So if your schooling is here, so you're from Japan, but you're taking school here, then you can still buy. And if you're working here, you can still buy. So there are some exemptions to that foreign buyers tax, which is the next 2 years that they're not supposed to buy. Not allowed to buy. Okay. There are a lot of buyers that are mad in Oakville, and they're mad at Mattamy Homes. And the reason they're mad is because a lot of people bought these homes for $2.5 million, and now those homes are now selling for $2 million. Okay, so you can imagine you bought this home $2.5 million, it's not done yet, and now if you go in the exact same sales office where you went before, they're selling the same model for $2 million, and you haven't got your financing yet, etc. Now the interest rates are higher, so not only are you getting, you know, higher interest rates, the bank only might appraise it at $2 million, you just paid 2.5. So it's a bit of a mess over at Mattamy in Oakville. So what else? I'm going to say what's happening locally. So locally, 39.7% homes sold January 2022. And I said before already, not everybody's like felt the interest rates because their mortgages haven't renewed or anything. But obviously, like that fellow said, it might take about 3 years. There was an article a couple of weeks ago. They said it would take 2 years. I don't know how long it's going to take. The average home sold in Simcoe County in January is 855,415, which was over 15% lower than it was January of 2022, 15.8% to be exact. And the dollar value of homes sold was 161.7 million, which seems like a crazy amount of money, but it was 41.5% less than January of last year. So that is a lot. Last January, 257 homes sold, and this January, only 168 homes sold. So that's 34.6% less homes that have sold in Simcoe County. And last year, the average days on market was 12, and this year, the average days on market was 39. So things are taking longer. Last January, the average sales price was $991,000 and change. This year, it's $770,000 and change, which is down 22.3%. And in Barrie, in January of 2023, a detached home averaged $837 change, which was down 21.8%. A semi-detached home averaged $618,000, which was down 8.4%. A townhome averaged $604,000, which was down 22%. And a condo averaged $463,000, which was down 21.9%. From January of last year. And I know all of that sounds crazy, 20% down, 24% down, blah, blah, blah. But you have to remember how much it was up. So things were up, you know, 37%, 58%, 62%, etc. So do you know what I mean? It's all relative. It's not like, oh, it's been going up 2% a year and then suddenly it just dropped 20. It's been going up insanity. So it's really just adjusting, and it's not even adjusted back to where it was. So anyways, so Barrie's average sales price is down 22.7%, and Simcoe County's average sales price is down 16.7%. So that is that. All right, I'm going back to questions. If you guys, by the way, have any questions about our guaranteed sold sales program, so we guarantee to sell a home in 60 days, or we will sell it for free or buy ourselves. And we also have, if you buy a home and you're not satisfied with it within a year, we will buy it back or sell it for free. And same with if your house goes down in value. So if you're worried you're going to buy your house for $800,000 and now it's only worth $700,000 or what have you, like the Mattamy people, etc., we'll sell it for free. So that's that. We don't want you guys to be stressed. Next question comes from Jack and Diane, and Jack and Diane are in Oro Medonte, and they said, I recently saw a boathouse for sale in Ramera. We also have a boathouse on our property and never use it. Could we sell it separately and keep our home? Thank you, Jack and Diane, for asking. I think I know the one you're talking about. It has the big steps down to the water. So that was severed, I believe, in 2015. So as long as you can sever it. So let's just say you live in Oro, and I don't know what the frontage minimum is, but let's just say the frontage minimum is 30 and your lot's only 50. So if you split it, obviously, to 25, 25, so it's not big enough. So I don't know what the minimum frontage is, nor do I know what your frontage is. But as long as it fits it and or allows it, then you might as well. Not might as well, but you can. That's what these people are doing. They just put a hedge up between their boathouse and their house, and they sold the house. Got 1.5 million or whatever in the bank. It sounds like a good deal if you need to sell it and you're not using it anyways. Next bit of happy news is the little boy was born in Scotland. And this little boy was just over a pound. He was, where did I go here? Oh yeah, he was 1 pound, 8 ounces. And he was given less than 10% chance to live. And he was labeled hyperplexia now. Okay, so now this is 4 years ago. And what hyperplexia means is he's super advanced. He can like have a photographic memory. He's crazy good at math. And he's good at decoding things. And he's only 4. And he can do math and read in 6 different languages, and he's never been taught. So super neat that this little boy is crazy clever. His 38-year-old mother doesn't know where he gets it from, but she's just glad that he came safe and home with her after the hospital after 11 weeks of being in there. Next question comes from Jeff, and Jeff is in Angus, and Jeff said, my mom wants to move in with me, which I'm fine, or sorry, my mom wants me to move in with her, which I'm fine with, but I don't want to sell my home. Do you think I should Airbnb it or rent it long term? Thank you, Jeff, for asking. So what I would do if I was you is, one, I would check what leases have been gone around you. So whether a realtor or you just go on Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji or whatever, and you say, okay, hey, the average house around me is renting for $2,500. Just made that up. So, you know, $2,500 a month. And then you go on Airbnb and you look at homes similar and you see their average price per night, and then look at their little calendar and see how many days are rented. Hi, Dad, how are you? So they see how many days are rented. So let's just say, for example, there's 30 days in the month and only 2 of them are rented. Obviously, that's not great. If there's 30 days in the month and only 2 are vacant, then you can take that average out and see, okay, hey, this house is averaging, you know, I don't know, $5,800 a month or whatever it is, depending on the price. And so you can just decide from there, and you can look. You can literally look through somebody's old Airbnb and you can see all the ticks through it, meaning that it was booked or was it vacant. So you can just see what makes more sense. I would just say to keep in mind you have to have somebody go in to clean every time, etc. And your insurance will be higher because they don't like short-term rentals. So whatever, most likely short-term rental makes more sense money-wise, but you just have to do a bit of homework, okay? Thank you for asking. What is our next happy news? Happy news is about a snowman. So obviously being in a hospital would suck, let alone if you're a child, let alone if it's a pandemic. So it started in the pandemic, and it was in Colorado, and they said, hey, kids that are in the hospital, draw us a picture of your perfect snowman. And then they had people say, hey, I'll donate X amount of money to make that snowman. And then they copied it, you know, copied the picture, gave a picture to the little kids so they like to see it come to life. And then all that extra money, half went to the hospital and half went to a program called Generation Wild. And they've done over 5,600 projects. They do parks outside, skateboard parks, etc. So just to get kids out exploring, etc. So I thought that was cute, and I like different things out of the box. The next question comes from Bonnie, and Bonnie is in Hillsdale. So Bonnie said, I want to sell my home and move out east. Do you know how much my penalty would be? I'm with TD Bank and I'm in a 3-year fixed mortgage. Thank you for asking, Bonnie. I don't know how far you are into your mortgage. So for example, if you just signed it, it's going to be more because they're going to be mad, assuming, let's just say you go with another bank or you don't have a mortgage anymore, because they're going to be mad that we were going to make all this interest off of you for 3 years and now they're not. So the penalty could be quite steep. If you were in a variable, it wouldn't be as much, or if you only had a year left, etc. So I don't know exactly. It would be in your fine print of when you signed, and also depends a lot of things. Like if you have worse credit than somebody else, sometimes they make the penalties higher, but it really just depends how high your mortgage is too. So if your mortgage is only $200,000 versus $2 million, obviously the more money they were going to make, the more they're going to be upset with you and give you a higher penalty. Okay, thank you for asking. Thinking outside the box, there was a lady, and she was, I believe, was she in Scotland? No, she was in England. She was in England, and she was a personal trainer before COVID, and then obviously COVID happened, and she couldn't really do that anymore. So what she started doing was kind of going around the neighborhood, and she saw a lot of people were throwing their couches at the end of the driveway, etc. And she's like, these are leather. You know, maybe I could do something with this. I've sewn, but not that much over the years. So she started to bring these couches home, started to make bags, furniture, fanny packs, luggage, etc. Now she has a store and she has all these pop-up shops that she does as well. And she likes that she's saving, one, all these couches from the landfill, two, even the stuffing from the couches she gives, she donates for dog beds, for stuffing, etc. So again, I just like thinking outside the box, and instead of, you know, relying on the government or whatever to support you when her job, she just thought, you know, hey, let me try something else. So I like that. Yeah, anyways, that is actually all for me for this evening. Hope you guys have a super day, a great week. Never stop believing in yourself. You can do whatever you put your mind to. Have a beautiful night and take care.